I wanted to touch a topic of near-death experiences. And the reason I want to touch it is because not just because it's a popular topic, but because it's allowing the public to question what death really is. When a lot of these, whether it's kids or adults, they're having near-death experiences, it's allowing families and people to consider that what really happened. What is death? I haven't told this to many people, but I had an experience in US around 2-3 years ago, a few months before I met you initially. And um, I kind of had an asthma attack, right? And at that point, I did not know I had asthma. And it was happening for a couple of weeks. I used to go to the hospital and doctor, and I would do checkups, and they couldn't actually pinpoint it. Sometimes asthma comes out of nowhere. It's not like you're born with it. And my lungs used to just suffocate, and I used to have trouble breathing. I tried inhalers, even they weren't working. There's so many different kinds of inhalers. I was doing an audition with a friend once at home, and my lungs suffocated while I was helping him with the audition. We were reading scripts, and I just stopped breathing. And towards the beginning, I was like, oh no, there's no way I'm just going to die, because in the beginning you have a denial, right? But then a point came where I completely kind of just was turning blue or purple, and I couldn't breathe. I was trying my hardest to take every single breath left inside my body. And I went down the stairs and I went outside. I told my friend to call the ambulance, and the ambulance was on their way. But a couple minutes before the ambulance came, I collapsed. And this is what I want to talk specifically about my experience there. A lot of times you're scared of death, and even I was at that point. But for some reason, during those few moments, I felt some sort of release. And I don't know what it was, but all my memories kind of just came all at once with me. And then I saw some sort of bright light. I don't know what exactly it was, but when I woke up in the hospital, not knowing what happened, it was like 10, 15 minutes later, they told me they had to, I think it was CPR or whatever, they had to do a proper procedure. And they said I was dead for probably a couple seconds. And that completely changed my life. That's when I first started talking to my mom about spirituality, the meaning of life, the purpose of life. And that's when I first started coming to Vedanta. I wanted to ask you, what happens in these near-death experiences from a Advaita Vedanta point of view? What happens when you feel like a certain, and I was talking to Sunil Maharaj as well in Almora, and he said he had a near-death experience. He actually suffers from asthma as well. And he said that he had an astral body experience where when he kind of had an asthma attack, and he was in the hospital, and his body was one place and he was in another place, and he was saying that. So what, in your understanding, kind of happens during these near-death experiences?
Right. I mean, it's a terribly difficult experience, but in some sense, as you would agree, it's also a valuable experience. Right? It transformed your life. And I have heard of similar experiences from a number of people. There's this conference I went to, the theme was near-death experiences.
Oh, wait.
So there were scholars who were talking about it. There were people who had actually had near-death experiences. This was in Dallas a few years ago. The Advaita Vedanta has a clear framework about this. And most of the spiritual systems of the world, they do. It's something that they know very well. So idea is this. We have a physical body, this one. This is the one which everybody can see. And this is the one which the doctor examines and tries to treat and cure. But we have a subtle body. And that's nothing esoteric or mysterious, because we all feel it. We all feel emotions, ideas. We all have a personality, and there's prana. So the subtle body is there. In Vedanta, the technical terms for that is the pranamaya, the manomaya, the vijnanamaya, and the seed state called the anandamaya. So the pranamaya would be the vital body, and then the manomaya, the mental body, the intellectual body, vijnanamaya, and their seed state or causal state when they sort of curl up into a seed in deep sleep, for example, or at the point of the physical death. So now the idea is, when the physical body can no longer support the subtle body, maybe it's too damaged or maybe it's dying, then the subtle body is supposed to physically leave the dying body. And this process is called utkramana. Utkramana means transmigration, leaving the arising out of, literally, arising out of and proceeding. Now, an interesting thing I read recently from a report from neuroscientists. One mystery it seems they are facing is that at the point of death, the dying brain actually becomes suddenly very active. You wouldn't expect that. An organ which is dying would start to deteriorate and finally give up, collapse. But they find this fMRI scans of the brain at the point of death. They show that there is sudden burst of activity, including, release of dopamine and other biochemicals in the brain, which are related to wellness. When you get a feeling of wellness, serotonin, dopamine, those are released, it seems. I know this is a technical thing I don't understand, but I was just reading it. And various centers of the brain, it seems, they light up for no particular reason at all. It's like the centers related to memory, for example. You see, you said, and many people who have had near-death experiences, they say, suddenly there's an onrush of all memories of the past. Suddenly they seem to come together. Now, what I'm guessing, it's only a guess. I was very surprised and delighted to see that report, because this is a kind of confirmation, a brain-level confirmation of an event taking place in the subtle body. So what Vedanta would say is happening is the subtle body is leaving this body. And what is happening in the brain are just the signs of that. It's, if you will, it's like a spacecraft, a rocket taking off. And, the support structures on the launch pad, they sort of fall apart and it releases the rocket. So something like that probably, I don't know. But Vedanta, the literature is full of such descriptions of what happens at the point of death, how the subtle body leaves the physical body. Now, suppose the physical body is not quite dead and it can be revived, and so the subtle body is still linked to the physical body, then you would expect it to settle back again into the physical body. And I suspect that's what a near-death experience is.